Have you ever read a Gunnar manhwa with an ending so bad that you want to slime the author just because it could have been written better? If yes, then this manhwa is just for you. So with your lotion and tissues on the table, let's begin our recap. The story opens with a man confronting the woman before him, his tone sharp with accusation. He demands to know if that was the reason she pretended to fall in love with him, because she thought the author would change the ending that way. He calls her by name, and she, without denying it, admits that he is right. He nods slightly, as if piecing everything together, and remarks that if this is the case, then tonight she must have planned to seduce him. She immediately denies it, taking a cautious step backward, only to bump into the wall behind her. He leans in closer, his presence towering over her, and she feels her breath catch. Her mind races in disbelief. Why is he acting like this? He is far too close. Her voice trembles slightly as she demands to know what he is doing, and at that moment, he steps back a little, his tone calm, yet unsettling. If they are going to pretend to be lovers, he says, then they should at least do it properly. His hand reaches for her waist, but something about his touch sends a chill down her spine. Instinctively, her leg lashes out, kicking him away as she pulls out her dagger. She calls him a bastard, her voice filled with fury and suspicion, demanding if he is the psychopath, the serial killer everyone has been hunting. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the female protagonist, calling her superior, Kang. She reports that the killer has fled to the rooftop and urgently requests backup. Her words are quick and breathless. Author Ham is seriously injured, and they have already called for an ambulance. Kang tells her that he will be there soon, warning her to be careful until then. Since last year, a total of 5 web authors have been murdered, all of them extremely famous female romance fantasy writers. The culprit, infamously dubbed the Abria Killer, simply despised that kind of happy ending. The latest murder occurred at 7 p.m., tied to the popular historical romance web novel Catersa Thorlin. Oddly enough, that story had ended without any comments, as if the readers themselves had vanished into silence. She keeps her guard up, trying to make sense of it. Why did the culprit flee to the rooftop of all places? Isn't he cornering himself? It makes no sense. She moves carefully, approaching him from behind, commanding him not to move. But the man stands at the very edge, the wind pulling at his clothes. Her pulse quickens as realization dawns. Could it be that he intends to jump? He suddenly throws something toward her. She catches it, startled. A knife, glinting crimson under the dim light. A blood-stained knife. Her eyes widen. This is a crucial clue, something that could prove everything. She looks up again, terrified that he truly might end his life. She tells him they can talk, her voice trembling as she lowers her gun slightly. She tries to reason with him, insisting that not every author deserves to die, that there must be another way. But the man, almost detached from reality, murmurs something she can barely hear. He tells her to just talk for a bit. And just then, the other detective arrives on the scene, shouting for her to catch him. She turns sharply, but in that brief instant, he is already standing on the railing. She sprints forward, reaching out to stop him, but he jumps. Without hesitation, she leaps after him. The two fall through the air, their bodies cutting through the night wind, as the other detective screams her name from the rooftop. She opens her eyes abruptly, her body jolting upward. Her breath comes in short gasps. A man stands by her bedside, his voice calm, as he says she is finally awake. Confused and disoriented, she demands to know who he is and where she is. The man, dressed impeccably, introduces himself as the butler of the house and looks at her with mild concern, wondering if she has perhaps lost her memory. She snaps back, saying that this makes no sense. She was just about to catch the killer, but the butler shakes his head and replies that she must be mistaken. According to him, she is not a detective at all. She is the only daughter of Duke Sylvester. Her eyes widen in disbelief. She stares at him, certain that she has misheard. He repeats himself firmly, explaining that she is the daughter of the Duke, a man whose family is one of the founding pillars of the Grand Continent. Her full name, he says, is Lady Hema Sylvester. The words strike her like a blow. That name, she recognizes it instantly. It is the name of the Villainess from the very novel she had been investigating before. She wonders if this is a dream, or if she somehow died and went to heaven. At the capital city of Grand Tole, Hema gazes out at the bustling streets below, eyes wide with wonder. The grand architecture, the noise, the light, everything feels so strangely familiar, yet distant. She murmurs to herself in disbelief, realizing that this is truly the place where she used to live. Someone nearby asks why she is acting as though it's her first time here, and her knight, who rides alongside her, looks at her curiously. He asks if she still feels like she keeps forgetting, and then remembering things in fragments. She nods lightly, explaining that of course she does. She hit her head when she fell down those imperial stairs, so she doesn't remember much. In truth, she only vaguely remembers the novel's content, the story she once read, but she doesn't really know much about Hema, the real Hema Sylvester, at all. She's doing her best to pretend to be her somehow, but she can't help feeling that the written descriptions were never enough compared to how things actually look in person. Her knight frowns slightly and asks, with a mix of confusion and pity, why she had been so desperate to chase after someone who didn't even want her. The question hangs heavy in the air, and Hema lets out a soft sigh. That's exactly what she has been wondering herself. Her maid Marie blinks at her and asks what she just said. Hema quickly brushes it off, pretending it's nothing. She waves her hand and shifts the topic, asking if there's anything Marie wants to buy. She insists that she'll buy everything for her today. Marie looks startled, stammering that there's no need. Really, it's fine. But Hema pushes insistently, telling her that it's okay. She brought plenty of money anyway. Marie flusters even more, saying that someone like her doesn't need anything, and reminds her that since Hema has finally come out after such a long time, she should be the one buying things she needs. The latest trendy dresses, shoes, and accessories. Hema stops in her tracks at that. Her tone shifts, gentle but firm, as she tells Marie not to ever say someone like her in front of her again. She has no idea how much of a help she has been. If it weren't for Marie, Hema admits inwardly, she'd probably still be wandering around, lost and confused. So, just for today, she wants to compensate her a little as a small token of gratitude. She assures Marie that she's actually a really frugal person by nature. Both Marie and the knight glance at her in disbelief, exchanging skeptical looks. Hema awkwardly points at herself, flustered, clarifying that she is trying to live frugally. But perhaps they can make an exception just for today, something like that. Her knight, half joking and half serious, crosses his arms and asks what about him then. After all, he's been teaching her swordsmanship with all his heart and soul. Shouldn't he be included in this generosity too? Hema laughs softly, her expression easing into a smile. She throws her hands up in mock surrender and declares that fine, it's her treat today. Everyone can join in. For once, she'll let herself enjoy this unfamiliar, yet strangely comforting life she stumbled into. Even though she has died in her previous world and now lives as someone else in this one, it has been a long while since Hema has enjoyed some leisure time like this, free from the weight of cases and obligations. For once, she allows herself to relax and wonders fleetingly if this might be some kind of heaven. Her knight, ever dutiful, excuses himself, saying he will call the carriage and asks her to wait for a moment. She waves him off, cheerfully urging him to come back quickly. Nearby, Marie observes with a faint pout that Hema has bought gifts only for the employees and nothing for herself. Hema laughs softly, teasing that she already has more than enough. She is just about to resume admiring the night's scenery when a sudden shout pierces the calm air, someone yelling that a man has stolen her bag. Without hesitation, Hema rises to her feet. "Marie, stay here and keep watch," she commands, before dashing after the thief into the dimly lit alley. Her breath comes fast as she runs, her steps echoing against the cobblestones. When she finally halts, chest heaving, she looks around and realizes with frustration that she has lost him. A sigh escapes her lips as she mutters that if it weren't for this heavy dress, she might have caught up. Just then, a voice from behind asks who she is looking for. A group of rough-looking men emerges from the shadows, their leader smirking, as he remarks that it's dangerous for a young lady to wander around alone at night. Hema narrows her eyes and exhales sharply, calling them fools for working with the thief. With calm defiance, she tells them that if they simply return the bag, she will let the matter go as if nothing happened. It would be best, she says, to end this nicely. Her words only earn laughter. One of them scoffs, asking if she has lost her mind, and their leader orders the others to seize her. Hema sighs again, half in annoyance, half in resignation, thinking that it was her own fault for expecting a peaceful ending in such a gloomy alley. The men rush toward her, and she catches a glimpse of steel, a dagger gleaming in the dim light. But before they can reach her, a commanding voice cuts through the chaos. A man clad in the distinguished armor of a great knight steps forward, his presence radiating authority. The thugs freeze as he warns them coldly to put down their weapons if they wish to live. Seeing his face, they blanch with fear and flee without another word. Hema steadies herself, turning toward her unexpected savior. She thanks him sincerely, saying that thanks to him, she has avoided getting into real trouble. The man studies her closely and asks what she was doing in a place like this. She explains that she had been chasing a thief who stole an old lady's bag, but unfortunately, she lost him along the way. The knight exhales a quiet sigh and tells her to follow him. He will escort her back to her companions. Grateful, Hima nods. At that moment, her own knight arrives, calling out for her. She smiles, relieved, remarking that it's perfect timing. Her companions have been looking for her. Turning back to the mysterious rescuer, she thanks him once more and extends her hand politely in gratitude. The man blinks, momentarily taken aback. Is she truly asking for a formal handshake? Or perhaps even a hand kiss in a place like this? When he does not immediately respond, Hema wonders if she has overstepped. Perhaps it is improper for a woman to offer a handshake first. Still, she thanks him again with a polite nod and turns to leave, calling out to her knight, addressing him as Sir, as they depart together. The man remains standing in the alley, watching her go, a faint look of disbelief on his face. Knight? Sir? He murmurs to himself. Could it be? She doesn't recognize him? She does. At the Sylvester Duke family training grounds, the air is thick with the clashing of blades and the sharp scent of iron. Hema stands in the center of the arena. Across from her, a knight sneers and scoffs, demanding why she doesn't just admit defeat already. She arches an eyebrow, her tone cool as she asks if he truly believes she would accept such a thing. The knight smirks, reminding her that her sword has already flown from her hand. He declares that without a weapon, she is powerless. But before he can finish his boast, Hema moves, swift and unexpected. Her fist connects with his jaw in a clean strike that sends him flying backward, crashing into the ground with a resounding thud. Standing tall, she dusts off her hands and glares down at him. He's only defeated, she says firmly, when he falls outside the arena. Isn't that right? A few watching knights laughs mockingly. Since when did a social party butterfly like her start sword training? Another jeers, and a third adds with a vulgar smirk that perhaps she needs a different kind of training skills, better suited for the bedroom. Their laughter rings cruelly across the field. Hema stiffens, a flicker of anger crossing her face. Even these common knights, she realizes bitterly, see her as completely worthless. And what hurts more, she cannot even argue with them. Damn it, she thinks, how did she end up in this situation? And who exactly is Hema in this world? Memories and rumors swirl in her mind. Backed by her father's immense power and wealth as one of the founding contributors of the Kedem Empire, this body's original owner was infamous, a scandalous woman obsessed with Marquis Killian Thermos, respected among knights, the so-called Villainess of high society, known for her misdeeds and promiscuous pursuits, who ultimately went insane and died in prison. But she, the new Hema, has no intention of following that miserable ending. Suddenly, Marie comes running toward her, breathless and pale. Something terrible has happened, she cries, grabbing Hema's arm. She pleads for her to hurry inside, to wash up and change clothes. She will help her get ready at once. Hema, still confused, asks what's going on, and Marie blurts out the name that makes her heart skip. Marquis Killian Thermos has arrived. For a moment, Hema freezes, disbelief flooding her expression. The male lead, Marquis Killian Thermos? Why is he here? Doesn't he hate her? What part of the original story is this supposed to be? Her thoughts spin wildly as fragments of memory from the original storyline resurface. The Imperial Palace banquet for the Crown Prince's birthday. The moment when Killian was seen climbing the Imperial stairs and she, the old Himena, chased after him, desperate for his attention. In her foolish persistence, she had slipped, tumbled down the stairs, and then tried to make him take responsibility for an accident no one had witnessed. Even back then, the reader's comments had been cruel, begging for her to be killed off quickly. And now, that's who she has become. She clenches her fists, her mind made up. Since it's come to this, she will not avoid him like a coward. Instead of repeating the same humiliation, she will put an end to that incident herself. It's bad enough that she once died as a 27-year-old detective, forever alone, chasing criminals until her final breath. She refuses to die miserably here again. Turning to Marie with sudden resolve, she declares, "This won't do. She will meet him like this." Marie is taken aback by the thought of meeting him in her current state, without getting ready, disheveled and unprepared. Still, she enters the room with an air of composure, greeting him with a calm acknowledgement that it has been a while. Killian responds in kind, his tone polite but reserved. He is, in fact, the same man she encountered yesterday in the back alleys of Grandhole. The memory flickers in her mind as he reminds her of their meeting. She realizes that she hadn't recognized him then at all. No wonder, she thinks to herself, that he had seemed unusually handsome. How could she possibly have recognized him at first glance when she had only ever read about him and never once seen his face in person? When he asks if she is all right, she hurriedly supplies a reason for her lapse. The reason she didn't recognize him yesterday is that she has recently developed night blindness, and it had been dark in that alley. Brushing past the awkwardness, she explains that he must be here today because of that incident on the palace stairs. With a firm tone, she declares that it's all settled now. Her words leave him visibly confused, but she continues, clarifying that it's not as if he pushed her. She fell of her own accord, foolishly, and therefore there's no reason for him to apologize. As he can see, she is perfectly fine. Killian expresses a sense of relief, though he adds that yesterday she had also seemed quite healthy. His strange expression puzzles her. What's with that look, she wonders. Is her good health somehow upsetting to him? Then again, perhaps anyone would be fed up after enduring over 100 chapters of relentless obsession. Determined to put an end to it all, she formally apologizes for her past behavior, her unilateral rudeness towards him. She corrects herself, addressing him properly as Lord Marquis. Up until now, she admits, her conduct has been unreasonable, but she promises that she will not behave that way anymore. With solemn resolve, she asks him to accept her apology so they can put the past behind them once and for all. When he questions her sincerity, she responds with full determination that she is absolutely serious. She doesn't like him anymore and will not interfere with him, or that blonde lady, ever again. To make her declaration firm, she even gestures toward the knight standing nearby, insisting that he can serve as a witness. Marie then pats Killian's arm lightly, telling him to be a man and accept her apology, suggesting they avoid any further involvement with one another. With a graceful finality, she thanks him for visiting her today and politely asks him to take care on his way back. However, Killian stops her before she can leave. He explains that the incident on the stairs has placed him in a difficult position, and he would personally prefer if she made a public explanation to clear things up. That, he says, is the reason he came to see someone he can't stand. Marie assures him not to worry. She will explain it properly on his behalf. After she departs, Killian turns to his knight and asks for his opinion. The knight hesitates before remarking that it doesn't seem as though she has come to her senses at all. Rather, it feels as if she has completely lost them. More than that, he adds, she seems like an entirely different person. Killian glances out the window, deep in thought, finding the entire situation far more interesting than he could have expected. At the Grand Sylvester Duke mansion, news circulates quickly through the corridors and drawing rooms. Lady Hema plans to attend the Empress's birthday celebration disguised as a man. The butler confirms the rumor to the Duke himself. The old man's expression twists in outrage as he exclaims that this is utterly absurd. He recalls with exasperation that the last time the Marquis had visited, she practically chased him away from the mansion. The Duke, fuming, says that she should have agreed to an engagement then and there. After all, if she were to marry Marquis Killian Thermos, would not the formidable Red Moon Knights fall under their family's command? His tone grows sharp as he lectures that such a union would have brought their household immense wealth and political power. He continues, frustrated, that she should have made the Marquis take responsibility for pushing her down the stairs and injuring her. But before he can go further, Hema slams her hands against the desk, her voice rising in indignation. Is he truly suggesting that she should blackmail an innocent person into marrying her? Her father stutters, momentarily thrown off by her fiery glare. She presses on, reminding him that spreading false information could lead to arrest for defamation. Her words strike like thunder in the room. She warns him coldly that if he dares to encourage such criminal behavior in front of her again, then even if he is her father, she will not stay silent. The Duke, usually so domineering, falters under his daughter's sharp tone, visibly shaken by her defiance. The sound of the butler's announcement echoes through the halls. The guest at the door is none other than Marquis Killian Thermos of Acticus, the commander of the Red Moon Knights himself. At the grand ballroom, whispers ripple through the gathering of noble ladies as he enters. Their eyes are immediately drawn to the striking red decorations on his formal attire, which perfectly complement the crimson hue of his eyes. He stands out like a living flame amidst the sea of silks and jewels. The murmurs grow as some recall rumors that His Majesty the Emperor is quite displeased about granting the Red Moon Knights their new territory. Among the crowd, someone wonders aloud whether those taking the Red Moon Knights entrance exam this year should try to leave a good impression on the Marquis. Another quickly dismisses the idea as nonsense. The Red Moon Knights, they insist, select their members purely based on ability, not social standing or flattery. But the conversation soon turns venomous. They whisper that even if the Duke's daughter has always been obsessive, her attempt to avoid responsibility now only reveals her true nature. Their words drip with scorn as they sneer. What else could be expected from someone of unknown origins? One of Killian's knights, standing nearby, clenches his fists in anger, unable to bear the insults. His expression hardens as he prepares to confront them, but Killian raises a hand to stop him. He knows that engaging with loose-lipped individuals will only feed their gossip further and give them more stories to spread. So, with an unreadable gaze, he simply watches in silence, the air around him taut with quiet authority and restrained fury. It is announced that from the Sylvester Duke family, it is the young master, though in truth, it is Hima herself. The moment her name is called, every gaze in the grand hall turns toward her, eyes widening at her attire. She looks around, puzzled by the stares, wondering silently why everyone is looking at her so intently. After all, it is a party. Shouldn't they be dancing or drinking to distract themselves, rather than staring as if she were an oddity on display? Just then, Killian approaches her. He asks whether she has been well. She notes in mild surprise that he has arrived early. Still, she feels a faint sense of relief. It is comforting to have someone familiar speak to her first, in a place where she knows no one else. Yet the thought lingers in her mind. Didn't this man once show clear distaste when it came to kissing her hand? Without thinking further, she withdraws her hand and shakes his instead, a gesture that makes him blink in disbelief at her unconventional boldness. Before either of them can speak again, the herald's voice rings through the ballroom, commanding attention as he announces the arrival of the esteemed guests, His Imperial Majesty the Emperor and Her Imperial Majesty the Empress. The hall immediately falls into silence, and Hima lifts her eyes toward the imperial couple as they enter. She studies them with quiet curiosity, realizing that these are the highest-ranking individuals in the entire KDM Empire. When it is her turn to greet them, Hima steps forward and bows gracefully, offering her respect to their Imperial Majesty. The Empress regards her with a composed smile and mentions that she has heard of Hima's unfortunate accident at the Crown Prince's birthday celebration. The Emperor expresses gladness at seeing her in good health. Hima thanks her politely, but the Emperor's tone shifts slightly, amusement flickering in her eyes, as she remarks that Hima's attire is rather unique and intriguing, his words carrying the subtle weight of mockery, as he speculates that perhaps the Sylvester Duke family is forming a new order of knights, something he calls the Blue Moon Knights. Killian's jaw tightens as he senses the derision hidden beneath the Emperor's composed exterior. The Emperor continues, bringing up Killian's legendary exploits, remarking that when Killian slays monsters, the red aura flowing through his body even dyes the moonlight crimson, thus earning him the title of Red Moon Swordsman. Then, with a faintly mocking tone, he muses aloud whether the swords of the Blue Moon Knights would glow with a blue aura as well. Hima suddenly laughs softly, disarming the moment with ease. Her words come light and playful as she remarks that if anything, it would not be a blue moon, but rather blue mold. The remark catches the Emperor slightly off guard, and a faint ripple of laughter stirs among the guests. She explains further, saying that recently she has come to appreciate the importance of health and has begun studying swordsmanship in earnest. To aid her training, she has gathered a few knights to practice alongside her. She adds that, thanks to His Majesty's amusing suggestion, she has finally decided on a name for her small order. For now, it consists only of her and a single friend, but if it is for His Majesty's safety and for the peace of the Empire, she is prepared to devote her full effort. The Empress studies her in surprise, commenting that she seems like an entirely different person from before. Her expression softens into a faintly approving smile, as she states that she will look forward to seeing this new Blue Mold Knights in action, and will be sure to invite them to the upcoming monster subjugation competition. The Empress adds that she hopes to witness Hima's skills refined and her achievements great by then. Hima thanks her respectfully and begins to step back, her poise unwavering. Yet as she turns away, she leans slightly toward Killian and whispers that he should not take the mockery to heart. It is merely the petty ridicule of insecure individuals. Hearing those words, Killian looks at her, completely taken aback. The ladies whisper among themselves in the corners of the grand hall, their tones dripping with gossip and disbelief. Wasn't it always just the Duke's daughter pursuing him? One murmurs. Another leans closer, fanning herself with deliberate grace as she adds, but even with a head injury, how could she have changed so much? At a table on the opposite side, Hima sits silently, listening to the meaningless chatter that fills the air around her. A faint sigh escapes her lips as she realizes she has missed her chance to leave unnoticed. The gossip shifts swiftly from her to another topic. The tone, suddenly darker. One of the women mentions a recent murder committed in broad daylight. Another adds that the culprit still hasn't been caught. Their hushed voices carry fragments of sentences across the table. That dead author's novels were really interesting, one says mournfully. It's so frustrating that we'll never know the ending. Hima's head turns sharply, her expression tightening as she blurts out, more to herself than to anyone else, whether what they have just said is true. An author was murdered. The ladies, startled by her sudden outburst, rush to fill the silence. They explain that about 5 days ago, in the center of the capital, a female author was found stabbed to death with a knife in broad daylight, no less. The incident took place in a back alley near the bookstore district, and there were no witnesses. The information strikes Hima deeply. She hadn't thought about it until now, but the details send a chill through her. If what they say is true, if the woman was murdered, and if Hima herself had somehow fallen into the world of that very novel, then there's a high possibility that the culprit might have fallen into it too. The realization tightens in her chest, urgency rising in her mind like a warning. She stands abruptly, scanning the hall until her eyes catch sight of a familiar figure, the man who had earlier announced the names of the invited nobles upon their entrance. She hurries to him and asks if he is indeed the announcer from before. When he confirms, she inquires whether there is a sheriff responsible for the capital's security among today's guests. The man pauses to think before replying that the sheriff was present earlier and points toward the opposite side of the hall where the man now stands. Without hesitation, Hima walks briskly in that direction. Upon reaching him, she greets him with polite composure and introduces herself formally, expressing that it is a pleasure to meet him. The sheriff looks her over with mild curiosity and remarks that, so this is Lady Hima, the subject of so many strange rumors. He inclines his head slightly, saying that it is an honor to greet her as one of the Empire's commanders. Hima blinks in slight surprise, realizing that he is not just any officer. As he clarifies, she learns that he serves as the sheriff, overseeing both the capital's defense and its security. It is, she notes inwardly, a system that manages both the military and police forces simultaneously, a dual command structure that gives him considerable authority. When he asks what she needs from him, Hima composes herself and politely requests a moment of his time. He agrees, and as she glances around, her eyes settle on a quiet corner near a small balcony. Oh, that spot looks good, she thinks, pointing toward it as the ideal place to speak privately. At that moment, Killian notices her across the hall, standing beside the sheriff. His expression hardens as he strides toward them. Stopping in front of her, he asks if he might have a word with her. But Hima, still focused on her purpose, apologizes briefly, explaining that she has urgent business to discuss with the sheriff right now and that they will talk later. As she and the sheriff move toward the balcony, soft murmurs ripple through the guests nearby. Look over there, someone hisses. The Duke's daughter is heading to the small balcony, alone with the sheriff. The air fills once again with the quiet hum of scandal. To the onlookers, it seems that things are truly over between Lady Hima and Marquise Killian. Their glances sharpen with curiosity, and whispers ripple like a quiet storm through the hall. Could it be that the sheriff is her next target? The sheriff, maintaining his composure, glances at her uncertainly and admits that he doesn't quite understand why she has brought him here, but gestures for her to speak nonetheless. Hima, her tone calm but firm, explains that she actually wishes to talk about the recent murder case. Her words stop him in his tracks, his eyes narrow, startled by the unexpected topic. She continues without hesitation, saying that she has overheard gossip about a novelist who was stabbed in a back alley near the bookstore district, and that the culprit still hasn't been caught. The sheriff straightened, studying her carefully, before replying that yes, that much is true. They haven't caught the culprit yet. Curiosity sparks in his eyes as he asks whether the author's books aren't quite the topic of fascination among noble ladies lately. Hima catches the subtle tone in his question and thinks to herself that so this woman, too, must have been the subject of gossip. Her works likely scandalous enough to capture attention across high society. So even noblewomen were curious about the continuation of that racy novel. She muses silently, piecing things together. Then, she presses further, asking whether the author's murder 5 days ago was the first incident of its kind. His posture stiffens, and for a brief moment, he seems unsure how to respond. Eventually, he admits that, yes, it was the first such case to occur recently. Hima's tone sharpens slightly as she interrogates further, asking whether there have been any similar incidents elsewhere, not just in the capital. The sheriff averts his gaze and answers uneasily that he isn't sure. She doesn't let up, questioning what the exact cause of death was and whether they have recovered the murder weapon. The sheriff's patience begins to wane, His voice hardens as he reminds her that he is not obligated to disclose such sensitive details to her. Hema nods slowly, acknowledging his words, but adding quietly that it is a very important matter nonetheless. Her insistence, however, seems only to irritate him further. He regards her with a faint smirk and remarks that he cannot comprehend why a high-ranking lady such as herself would take such an interest in the death of a mere author. His words grow more pointed, almost taunting, as he asks whether this is yet another one of her unsavory hobbies. The dismissal in his tone strikes like a slap. He straightens, clearly intending to leave, and tells her curtly that they should stop here. To him, this conversation doesn't appear to concern anything of importance, and he has no time to waste indulging what he deems her childish amusements. He reminds her bluntly that he is not someone with enough free time to entertain unnecessary investigations born of idle curiosity. The disdain in his voice reminds her bitterly of her former boss and the life she once knew how even he would question her persistence. "Why are you trying so hard for no reason?" he used to say. "The higher-ups told us to let it slide. It's not like this is the first time." Her composure shatters as anger flashes across her face. In one swift motion, she steps closer, seizing the sheriff by the collar of his immaculate uniform, and demands through clenched teeth whether he has truly just referred to the death of a mere author as something so insignificant. She demands to know if human life is nothing but a joke to him. The anger in her voice trembles through the air as she questions whether, to him, a person without high status is even considered human. How can there be a difference in the value of a life, she wonders, when every life is meant to hold the same worth? Her indignation swells beyond control. In that moment, she throws him to the ground, her eyes blazing with determination. She makes it unmistakably clear that if he refuses to find the culprit, she will do it herself. No matter what it takes, she vows to catch them. No one is to stand in her way. The crowd, stunned by her sudden outburst, begins to whisper among themselves, their eyes filled with uncertainty and judgment. Just as Louise rushes toward her, she realizes what she has done. She has lost her temper without even noticing. A dreadful thought crosses her mind. If the serial killer's spirit has possessed someone, could they be here among them right now? But who exactly could it be? The Count's daughter? The Duchess? And if they truly are present, wouldn't they have already recognized her by now? More than a month has passed. Surely they must have noticed how much he has changed. Amidst the murmurs, Killian arrives. The moment she sees him, her breath catches. She had promised to give a public explanation, and now he is here, before everyone. She wants to tell him that none of this is his fault, but her strength falters. Her body gives in, and she collapses before she can finish. Killian rushes to catch her, his face stricken with alarm. Her voice trembles as she murmurs faintly that he did nothing wrong, not that day on the stairs. He did not push her. Yet his expression hardens when she brings up that night at the party. He tells her not to follow him, claiming he has nothing to say to her. She pleads, insisting that what she has to tell him is truly important, but he cuts her off sharply, refusing to listen. To him, it is all too clearly a lie. Desperation fills her eyes as she insists otherwise, her voice breaking as she says it, is only because she worries for him, because she loves him. But Killian's bitter scoff pierces her heart. To him, her words are nothing but a disgusting display. Her tears fall freely now, her heart shattering as she wonders how he could say such cruel things. As she turns to leave, her voice calls out his name one last time, but her steps falter. The image of that terrible day floods her mind. That day she hadn't simply slipped on her skirt as everyone believed. No, she remembers clearly now. With Killian's cold indifference cutting deeper than any wound, she had thrown herself down those stairs on purpose. A voice calls to her, distant yet urgent. When she opens her eyes, she realizes she has returned to the present. Marie is beside her, relief flooding her expression as she sees her awake. She offers her a cup of hot water, helping her sit up. Louise, standing nearby, breathes out in exasperation that she's finally awake. His tone carries both worry and reprimand as he asks how she feels. She answers that she's fine, though her body still trembles slightly. He proceeds to explain what happened. One moment, she had thrown the inspector across the ballroom. The next, she had suddenly collapsed in front of everyone. The entire place descended into chaos. Whispers and gasps spread like wildfire. What was meant to be a public explanation had turned into a public disaster. She can already imagine her father's face, stern and disappointed, ready to scold her once again for losing control in front of so many people. Marie waves her hand dismissively, assuring everyone not to worry. After hearing about the ball last night, She explains that he packed his bags first thing in the morning and left for the Anatole villa immediately. According to her, he claimed it would be far too embarrassing to show his face in society now. The thought makes her quietly relieved. It is, in a way, a convenient turn of events. Louise, however, cannot help but ask why on earth she did what she did to the inspector. He insists that if she had ended up in a good position, she should have handled things more smoothly and emerged from the situation with her dignity intact. She sighs, recalling the moment with a hint of irritation. At first, she says, she had simply wanted to ask him a few questions, but then, out of nowhere, he began saying things that made her blood boil. The others exchange uneasy glances, one of them asking in disbelief if she truly went into that place with a man she barely knew. She hesitates for a moment, realizing how it must have looked, and admits that she understands how people might take it the wrong way. Another points out that after she and the inspector went out onto the balcony, rumors began to spread like wildfire. That particular balcony, they say, has long been known as a spot for secret rendezvous. Her eyes widen at the accusation, and she quickly defends herself, insisting that such a thing was never her intention. When she had looked around, there hadn't been a single suitable place to talk. The noise of the ballroom made it impossible to hold a proper conversation, and the inspector himself had suggested stepping out for some air. She clenches her fists in frustration, thinking to herself that the entire situation has become utterly insane. Even Killian had witnessed the scene, making matters worse. Still, she takes a deep breath and decides to look at it differently. Whatever. Perhaps this is for the best. Now that everyone has seen them together, it will be obvious to all that it's over between her and Killian, even without her needing to make a public explanation. The gossip will serve its own purpose. Pushing aside her irritation, she turns to Louis with newfound determination. More importantly, she says, he should get ready. They have somewhere to go. When he asks where, she replies firmly that they are heading to the bookstore district in Grand Toll. There's something she needs to check, and she isn't planning to waste a single moment. Outside the carriage, Louise questions her sudden interest in visiting a bookstore in the capital. Hema replies with quiet determination that she wishes to learn more about the novelist who was recently murdered nearby. The words catch Louise completely off guard. This is the first time he has heard of such a case. She guesses that it must not have been a widely known incident. After all, even Marie had been unaware of it. Hema herself only heard fragments of gossip from the household servants. In a world where literacy is rare among commoners, especially among those like Marie who cannot read, it makes sense that the news remained confined to the upper circles. The tale of a novelist's death, she realizes, had probably circulated only among a few noble women who read such works, their chatter whispered between teacups and powder mirror. In a realm filled with magic, monsters, and constant peril, the death of a single writer may seem trivial, barely worth mention beyond idle curiosity. Yet for Hema, it is not something she can dismiss so easily. The thought of the crime stirs unease within her. She cannot shake the question of who the killer might have been, or whether they too have crossed over into this unfamiliar world just to take another life. If only she had uncovered more about the culprit before their death, perhaps things would be different now. Lost in thought, she follows Louise through the crowded streets until they reach the old bookstore. The bell above the door jingles softly as they enter, the scent of aged parchment and dust wrapping around them like a quiet memory. Hema approaches the counter, her voice steady as she requests a particular book. The shopkeeper, an elderly man, looks up from his ledger and names a title, Sir Knight, Obsess Over Me. The words strike Louise with bewilderment, his expression twisting in disbelief, but the old man seems genuinely certain that this is the book they seek. It is, as he explains, the work of the novelist who had died only a few days prior. The title, abbreviated among readers as SKOM, had gained sudden attention after her passing. Hema confirms that it is indeed the volume she is after, but the shopkeeper only shakes his head in regret. The book, he tells her, is no longer available. Dozens have already come searching for it today alone, and every shop in the district is likely giving the same answer. Curiosity flickers in her eyes. She had not imagined it to be so popular. The man goes on to explain that while the story was already admired among young, noble ladies, it became a sensation after the author's death. With only the first volume published during her lifetime, her husband had hurried to gather her remaining notes and release a second. That edition, printed just the morning before, had sold out almost instantly. The detail unsettles Hema. How could word have spread so quickly about a book released only hours earlier? The shopkeeper adds, almost as an afterthought, that a maid had visited the previous afternoon and bought every remaining copy herself. The coincidence presses a chill at the back of Hima's neck. Still unwilling to give up, she offers to pay more for one, yet even that elicits a weary smile from the man. Others, he says, have already offered far higher sums, 10 times, even 20 times the price, pleading for him to reserve a copy when new stock arrives. If she wishes, she may try again tomorrow. Perhaps more will come in by then. Before leaving, Hima pauses, her thoughts returning to the murder. She asks quietly whether the late author had passed by this very shop before her death. The question lingers in the air, heavier than before. One more thread in the strange tapestry of a mystery that refuses to rest. He tells her that it is not their bookstore, but if she goes down the alley next door, there is a shop that sells paper and ink. He heard that the writers often visit that place and that they might have gone there. She thanks him politely and wonders if she has already asked everything she can for now. Since it has come to this, she decides that she might as well investigate the heroine of this world too. Curiosity burns quietly within her as she inquires if he has had any recent customers, a pretty young lady with blonde hair and blue eyes. He shakes his head, unable to recall anyone like that. When he asks why she wants to know, she brushes it off as nothing and thanks him again, preparing to leave. But just as she is about to step outside, he stops her, remembering something suddenly. About 2 weeks ago, a young lady wearing a black cloak had come to buy a copy of the first volume of that very novel. He didn't get a good look at her face, but through the hood, just for a brief moment, he thought he caught a glimpse of shining blonde hair. The revelation shocks her. Inside the novel, the original heroine was named Ines Fidelis, so that means she might be involved. Ines Fidelis, a descendant of the Nigel tribe, one of the few survivors of the Black Dragon War 17 years ago. During that war, her father had fled west to the Dusay Kingdom with her, escaping the flames of destruction. When Ines turned 20, her father's dying wish was to be buried in his homeland, and that wish led her to cross paths with Killian. While helping him recover from an assassination attempt during the Beast Subjugation Tournament, the two protagonists met by fate. That very same tournament was the one where Emperor Xenos announced his invitation to the Blue Moon Group. She realizes with rising tension that she has possessed Hima, a key supporting character in this novel. So doesn't that mean the culprit has likely possessed an important character too? The thought chills her. Then, could the culprit be the protagonist herself, Ines? Louise, standing beside her, questions her motives, asking why she is investigating this murder case in the first place. She is taken aback for a moment, then her expression hardens as she says that the culprit is a despicable bastard who cannot be allowed to roam freely in the capital. The thought of such a person escaping justice fills her with rage. Louise understands her anger but points out that there are city guards perfectly capable of handling such cases. Yet she can barely contain her frustration, claiming those guards are completely useless. One of them had the nerve to say, "Why waste time on the death of a mere low-ranking noble's rider?" The memory infuriates her so much that she had struck the guard out of sheer disgust. Louise, baffled, still wonders why she is so invested in the death of a minor noble she barely knew. She scoffs at his hesitation, throwing back his own ideals at him. Isn't he supposed to be a knight? Does he not care about the safety of the Empire's citizens at all? Is he really planning to tarnish the honor of the Blue Moon Knights with that attitude? He stands confused, inwardly questioning when he ever said he wanted to be a knight. That was something she forced upon him back then. She demands to know if he is just going to back out now, because if he leaves, then she will be the only one left to handle this alone. But just as her voice echoes in the tense air, someone suddenly stumbles on the stone path and crashes into her, wrapping her in a tight, unexpected hug. Startled, she spins around to see who this crazy person could be, only to find that it is Sheriff. He asks her if she is fine, and she answers yes, making him quietly glad. Lousy notices the man and realizes that this person is from yesterday, the one from the balcony. The sheriff clears his throat, wondering what brings her here, and she only states that she came to buy paper. With that, she decides to leave, pushing Lousy lightly, insisting they should be going now. Yet he hesitates, wondering if she is not going to talk a bit more. Perhaps she had acted too harshly towards someone she just met, but she has no interest in dealing with a constable who disregards human life. She convinces herself that the man probably already thinks she is a crazy woman anyway, so there is no need to care. If they dare provoke her, she plans to bite back without hesitation. At the paper shop, she approaches the lady behind the counter and asks if she knows about the murder that happened recently. The woman replies that of course she knows, and curiously asks if they are perhaps from the Capitol Guard. She immediately agrees, while Lousy whispers to her that it is a lie, though she tells him to stay quiet. The shopkeeper continues, remarking that it seems like they still haven't found the culprit. She explains that she knew the murdered lady well. She had been a regular customer who always bought paper from the shop. Hima listens intently, asking whether that is so, and if the woman had come on the day of the incident as well. The shopkeeper recalls that indeed she had. Normally, the novelist would come early in the morning, about once every 10 days. But for some reason, that day she came late, around 4 in the afternoon, only 3 days after her previous visit. She had hurriedly bought what she needed and left right away. The woman sighs that no one would have thought that would be the last time they would see her alive. Hima questions further, wondering if the novelist usually came alone to buy paper, and if there was any sign that she might have been threatened. The lady answers that yes, she always came alone, and that day had been no different. She had always been a quiet person, so the shopkeeper wouldn't know if she had been under any threat. If there was anything unusual, it was only that since her novel had begun to sell well, she had started buying high-quality paper. But recently she had gone back to purchasing cheaper paper again. From behind, another voice interjects, asking since when. Startled, Hima turns to see the sheriff. He states that it is a crucial question for catching the culprit and urges the lady to answer. Hima stands frozen in disbelief. She had gone out of her way to avoid him, so why is he following her even here? The shopkeeper looks between them in confusion, demanding to know what is going on and where he has come from. The sheriff points to himself and declares that he is an inspector responsible for maintaining order in the capital, and that he came here with these gentlemen. She responds calmly, saying it was around half a month ago, if she recalls correctly. He thanks her for the help, then quietly suggests to Hima that they should head out together. Outside, she remarks that he seems to have a lot of free time, a distinguished inspector personally investigating the death of a mere female writer. Her tone is edged with sarcasm, but he only clears his throat and asks the others if they could step aside for a moment, as he has something important to discuss with the lady. Lousy, slightly uneasy, urges them to feel free to talk and steps away. The sheriff then asks her for a short walk. As they move along the quiet street, he begins by apologizing, admitting that it seems he was the one who misunderstood. She looks at him in confusion, unsure what he means, so he continues to explain. He admits that he had assumed the reason she was so interested in the case was because, like other noble ladies, she was merely curious about the unfinished novel's content. He thought she was trying to use her status to extract information from him and because of that, his words and behavior had turned harsh. He asks her sincerely to forgive his rudeness. Hima becomes flustered, her thoughts scattering. Of course she is curious about the novel's content. She needs to know the story to be more certain whether that corporation is psychotic or not. But hearing him say that makes her feel as though she has made a big mistake herself. She realizes that she should have explained her reasons before asking questions, that she had been too thoughtless in her approach. Yet, since they now have this opportunity, the sheriff takes a moment to make one thing clear. He would never disregard a person's life simply because of their low status. His voice carries both conviction and regret. Hima finds herself staring at him, dazed by his sincerity. Then, softly, she admits that there is something she also needs to apologize for. She truly did not know that the balcony from before was a place where men and women would go to, do things like that. He clears his throat awkwardly, a faint chuckle escaping him, though she quickly assures him that it is the truth. He smiles faintly, remarking that it certainly seemed that way, since normally men and women wouldn't be discussing a murder case in a place like that. As she looks at him now, she realizes just how different he is from Killian. If Killian is like a Black Panther, intimidating, unpredictable, and difficult to approach, then this man feels more like a unicorn, calm and gentle, as if already tamed by the world. He calls her out of her drifting thoughts, reminding her that now it is her turn to speak. His tone is patient but probing as he asks why this case is so important to her, and why she is so determined to catch the culprit. She stands frozen in place, unable to explain the truth, her thoughts tangled in everything she cannot yet reveal. She wonders if she should tell him the truth, that she was originally a detective who caught criminals, just like him. But if she dares to mention that the serial killer she was chasing in her past life might be the culprit here, he would undoubtedly think she has gone insane. So instead she speaks carefully, saying that last year she went on a retreat to the Duce Kingdom. While she was there, she happened to hear an interesting story. There was a rumor about a serial killer who murders authors out of dissatisfaction with their novel endings. Yes, that same man, so elusive that even now, they still have not managed to catch him. That is why she thought that maybe, just maybe, he could be the culprit in this case as well. He grows serious, responding that if that is truly the situation, then they must send people to the Dusei Kingdom's security office to gather detailed information. If what she is saying turns out to be true, this case might be far more serious than anyone had initially thought. Hearing that, Hima's heart tightens in panic. Damn it! If they really investigate, they will figure out she was lying. But Dusei is quite far from here, so perhaps the investigation will take some time. If she can find some clues before then, maybe she can still manage to get away with it. Still, he cannot understand why she insists on involving herself in such a matter. This is not something she needs to personally take part in, especially since it concerns another kingdom altogether. She nods quickly, agreeing that that is certainly true. However, her mind races. Damn it! What excuse should she come up with now? The lie just keeps growing bigger and bigger, spiraling further out of her control.